Good day all, welcome to the next video in which we're going to have a look at converting data to tabular format. So we're going to convert this data into a table. There are certain advantages at doing that. For example, if in the old days if we scrolled down, you see that the header here disappears underneath the Excel headers of A, B, C, D and so forth, and it disappears. In the old days when we had to do that, we would have to put it underneath, we'd have to put the cursor underneath the header, go to view, freeze panes, and this is now a frozen pane where everything scrolls underneath the header. The advantage, and I'm going to undo this, I'm going to go back to freeze panes and unfreeze. The advantage of making a table is that it will scroll up to the Excel headers and it will freeze itself there. Let me show you how that works. First of all, the shortcuts, there's two shortcuts, the original Excel Alt, and then we go to Home, and we see there in the button bar the T for table, the format is table, and we can choose any format from the predefined table styles. I'm just going to choose nothing in this case, so sorry, I'm going to choose nothing, and the table has now been designed. It is now in table format, which means if I scroll down, you see that this line of first name, last name, gender and department, etc. will go underneath, will be replacing the B, C, D and so forth of the Excel headers. So if I scroll in, you see that that the B has now been changed to F name, L name and so forth until the table is finished, and then it continues with P, Q and so forth. And that will stay there as I scroll down or up the table. Once it scrolls out of it, the header will come back into view. So the ABC of Excel will come back into view, and that stays there until again we start scrolling. So that is an advantage of creating a table. The formatting, so if I'm in a table, to the right here there's a whole lot of formatting. I can use predefined formatting. I could also design a new style if I so wanted to. There are a lot of options in the predefined ones, and again it's a matter of taste and opinion that people can choose. The one person would like something and the other one thinks it's ugly and disgusting, so it is up to the user who formats this table to decide how the table must look. I would say that a normal, straightforward, simple colors are good enough, but that's again, as I said, an opinion. The formatting of tables, so the way it looks is done with the styles. But if you didn't want to have these little tanks are filters, and you could say you don't want to filter, so you could switch the filtering off. So now you cannot filter the data, but it is nice to be able to take a database and say, give me all, in this case, give me all the males in the database. Or if you wanted to see who all the females were, you could do the same, and that is all done with a filter. You can also select everything, and that's now. You might want to say you don't want to see a header row, which in the case of scrolling, you now don't know what you are looking at, so it is better to have a header row. You see that the coloring here is banded, which means one with color, one without color, and then so forth. You could switch that off if you so wanted to. You could have a total row. Now there are, let's put it on, then the data, normally the last one would have a total row showing the total of a, it must be of course a field that is able to calculate. You could not calculate on the weekdays, for example. Now in this case I would not want to have a total row. You could have the first column could be highlighted and you could format it as such. In this case I'm not going to do that, and you see that it goes away. Also the last row you could highlight and show it as the last column. I'm not going to do that either. So here you see that the branded rows are alternate colors. You could do the same with the columns. So there is a lot of possibility in selecting or presenting the data in different ways. The important thing is to give this table a name, and again we can take the shortcuts as to you see the table is in this case table 17. If I go I could give it a name and say my tab. This table has now been called my tab, and in such, if I start calculating, it will, first of all, what we saw in previous videos, that in the name box I can choose my tab and it will select the table which we have called my tab. If for any reason you would want to undo or not make this table a table anymore, you could go to convert it back to a range, and it will then ask you, do you want to make it a normal range? You say yes, and now it's no longer a table. So when I scroll up, this will no longer turn to headers, and the formatting is still the same, but I could, the trick that I've showed in previous videos, you format it with nothing and you just reformat the whole table with nothing, and now it's back to a normal range. You see also that the table tool has disappeared because it's no longer a table. If I go Control T and make this a table, we have the table tool back. If I click outside of the table tool is no longer there. Inside the table I have the table tool, and I have all these options available to me. I would like to show you the slices. At this point in time I'm not going to show you the export. We could export this table as a table, but that is for later use, not at the moment. A slicer is basically a filtering system. So if I have slices, I don't have to have the filter buttons. That's what I wanted to show you, because earlier I said we don't have to have these filters. But let me first of all show slices, and I'm going to do a basic slicer on department and on gender. So I'm going to say, in the table I'm going to select a slicer, and I'm going to say I'm going to select a slicer on gender. And because there's only two, I can take this and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, because it can only be, okay, not that small. Gender, there's gender. I want to be able to read it. I'm going to put it here, and if I now switch off, sorry, I'm going to be in the table, the filters. Remember I said I can't filter on gender now because the filter icon is gone, but I can easily do that in this manner now. So I can select F for female and M for male, and that will filter on on this what we call a slicer. And if I wanted to have everything, we can either select, in this case, because it's only two options, I can select them both. Or if you've got multiple options, which I'll show now, we can press the little X and it will take that away. I'm going to put another slicer in for the department. We could do anything, by the way, any selection that we would like. And here is the slicer for the department. To bring them all in, there they are, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And here we could say, give me all accounts people, admin people, IT people, and so forth. We could take two. We could say accounts and admin. These are two selections now. I could take production and purchasing. Sorry, production and warehouse. Now I've got two selection made. In fact, anything, any choice of departments in this case. Oops, sorry. Let me go there. A little bit smaller. We could also say in the accounts department, show me all the males. Now I've got two selections, one account and one on gender. These are all the females in accounts. And so you can see it's a quick way of selecting or filtering your data. And again, if you want everything, you press the little X here in the top corner of your slicer, and it's a quick way of showing your data as you want to present it. So in this case, you see there's got two females. We can see that it is obvious. If you have a lot of data, the filtering is as fast. And let me demonstrate this. We only have 54 minus 3, so 51 records in this database. But if I go to a database of, and I go and down, of 111,000 records, Control Home, the filtering, and I'm just going to, it is a table, so I can go to insert a slicer, and in this case I would like to slice it on division. Okay, sorry, I don't know if I didn't press. Okay, oh, here it is. And I could remember 111,000 records. I can slice it on 1, I can slice it on 0, and that's how quickly a larger database gets filtered. Sorry. So the speed at which the slicer works is not dependent on how big your data is, or it doesn't slow down your filtering. Back to our little or our smaller data, and the nice thing of having slices is that it's a visual way of showing data quickly. I could do it on all fields, but certain fields do not lend themselves to be filtered. I could, for example, who started, so I can put another slicer in and say on the weekday who started, and obviously people do not start on weekends, because the company, unless people make mistakes in the start date. But these are all the people that started on a Monday. These people are all the people started on a Tuesday, and so forth. So if you wanted to know who started on a Friday, these are the start date as per day in the company as to who started on which day. Again, press the little X and you'll get all the data back. Of course, when I take the data, take the table away, your filters will go away. So your slices will disappear. If I go to convert it back to a normal range, and all your filtering is gone because it's no longer a table. I've had a lot of questions of can I have a slicer without having it a table? You can not slices as such, but if you go to data, and we'll come to this later, you can put in filters. You can put in filters, which is the same as having the slices, except that here you have to manually select and deselect. You know, if I wanted the males, you have to come in here, filter it out, and then take the filter away. Later in life, when we start doing programming, we could put a little button and it will clear the filters. But it is at this point in time easier or quicker to put in, to make a table, put in slices, and filter your data as such with the table. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.